Hey, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to Reborn RTV. How is everybody doing this fine evening?
Trying to stay warm. Just trying to stay warm.
It's not
It's
even
like 70 degrees outside.
It was like 80 something.
Huh?
That was the
It was.
phone, not
That was
him.
my phone. Yeah. I was getting ready to mute it and I didn't. So
I better make sure my phone's muted too before it starts going off.
there we go.
Let's see here.
Oh.
But good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you're doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Anything new come up this week?
Let me think. My neighbors moved. I don't think it's because of Laura being too loud.
Yeah.
They're out. We just saw them pack up and they're going to Wichita Falls.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to the, what is it, tornado capital of Texas?
Yeah, tornado capital and Ozarka.
Oh, man. So anyway.
It's where the Ozarka plant, I think, is too, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least the natural spring waters of Texas, where they bottle up the water.
Yeah, the one place.
The one place.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. I'm glad everybody's doing good. Today, I have actually a really good topic because I know for a fact that it comes to something that we can all relate to. And you've had a lot of these type of questions, scattered throughout the whole year is when God feels silent in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And before I started digging into my notes and everything, I wanted to actually kick it to you and kind of elaborate like what that truly means, like from the perspective of the individual themselves, because you get that question a lot.
Yeah, well, I think the example that you gave is a great one in 1 Kings chapter 19. All the stuff that Elijah had done, and he was absolutely exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we can imagine that. I mean, he slew 450 prophets of Baal after he had called down the fire from heaven, after he had reset the altar. Then he tells the king, Ahab, to go back to the city. In the meantime, he runs back to the city. And so he outruns the chariot to get back. Kind of wore out.
Kind of a good cardio day.
Kind of wore out, slaying the prophets and doing all that. And so it's an example of I don't think it's a place that we've probably ever been, the kind of exhaustion that he was. And then in chapter 19, he gets a threat from Jezebel. He's killed 450 prophets of Baal. He has stood and mocked them in their attempt to worship Baal. I mean, mocked them, because Baal isn't anything. So he's making fun of it, making fun of their worship. And she says, I'm going to do to you what you did to my prophets. And he ran off. And he didn't run off, I don't think because he's afraid of her.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ran off because you just get to a point where you're just too exhausted to think of what to do next.
Right.
I mean, you're just, gosh. So he goes off, and you see there for a while, and we got to understand not only how exhausted he is, but he is so distraught. This is one of the few places. Moses was another one, and I think Jeremiah is another one where it's such a place that he was suicidal. So that's where he was at, and he goes, and then God says, or the angel says, God says, why are you here? And he answers with this rhetoric, well, I'm the only one left. No one's left. And so God takes care of him, and he asks him again, why are you here? And so with that, we see he has him step out. He sees all these mighty things that God is doing, an earthquake and thunder, and all this stuff happens. But then he realizes that he doesn't hear God. God's not in those things. It's when he's quiet and he stops.
You beat
listens.
me to the punch, and I broke it down too, because I broke it down to where when the powerful wind comes, I made a note saying that God is not in the winds, and then as earthquake shakes everything, God is not in the earthquake. When the fire blazes, but God was not in the fire. It was the moment with the gentle whisper is where that is when God speaks.
Yeah. We can go so far, but if we don't stop to take the time to listen to him, what happens to Elijah can happen to us.
Right. And I think that's something that a lot of people probably has the main struggles in, is that they ignore the gentle whisper. And I use that more of as like a synonym, or
they don't value the time spent with God in the other things, in prayer,
right,
in their Bible study, meditations on top of those other two things, and then just the day-to-day work that you do. They're not listening in that. And you can get so busy, caught up trying to do things for God, you stop paying attention what He's telling you to do, right?
Right.
It's like what the husband and the wife were driving in the car, and he missed his turn, and after another turn, she goes, "You missed your turn back there," and he goes, "I know, but I'm making such good time." Right? That's the way we can be sometimes. So
no, absolutely, and that's where I kind of want to dig in a little bit about those events that Elijah dealt with, was the fact that even though, and how to relate it towards ourselves, like, you know, he had the powerful wind, he had the earthquake, the fire blazing. To me, that's something that we can relate towards, like our individual storms, right? Like if we're going through a tribulation or a trial, that's not the moment that, and please advise or correct me if I'm wrong, during that trial, that is not when God is actually speaking to you yet. That is your test, correct? It's not until the storm settles that's when God would then speak to you.
Yeah, I think God was trying to tell Elijah, I'm not those things.
Right.
I control those things.
Right.
Right. And it'd be like, you know, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Kind of like the
what is it?
The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, where, you know, well, there's this smoky thing and there's this image of this mighty Oz, but it's all being controlled by the guy behind the curtain, right? The real Oz.
Right.
God ain't doing that, right? God's standing with you, making this happen.
He's like, watch this.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Which means he says, I was standing next to you when you called the fire down from heaven. I was with you when you dug the trench. I was with you in these, and we just get so tired. You know, Elijah said it. He admitted what it was. I'm the only one left. There's nobody else. I'm the only one left that serves you. Just please, Lord, if you love me, kill me. Right? That's what he wanted.
Right.
And we got to really see how God responded. He didn't respond with any sympathetic or empathetic words at all. He was like, you know, he didn't say, oh, you know, are you tired? What's going on? None of that. Why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be somewhere else.
Right.
And in that, after it was, he said, I'm the only one left. And then God goes, okay, I want you to go anoint Hazael. I want you to go anoint Jehu, both to be kings. And I want you to anoint Elisha to replace you. Oh, by the way, there's over 7,000 people that haven't bowed to you're not the only one left.
Right.
So it wasn't he didn't start by, well, let me explain to you what's going on. First thing he said, here's what I want you to do now. Right? Let's go.
Yes.
Why are you here? And so we can, again, like I said, we can get so caught up in doing the stuff and you just get exhausted and go, I don't know what to do now. Well, sometimes we run ourselves right into a dead-end alley because we didn't listen. We thought, this is what he wants me to do, so I'm going to keep doing this thing. And he goes, no, you're supposed to turn left or supposed to turn right.
Right, like our last discussion where we were joking around with the GPS and everything. It's like, I know this doesn't seem right. If I go this way, I'm going to get there a lot faster. And then you realize, well, there's gridlock.
There's gridlock. Yeah.
No, that's completely true. And so I put in there also Psalms 13, 1 through 2. And it pretty much just summarizes when David cries, how long, Lord, will you ever forgive me? And then this shows that even the giants felt that silence. Like they felt the faith of the silence.
Sure.
So I kind of picked those two verses out because in my opinion, and this is where I was really actually curious about, that silence that that silence from God doesn't mean a separation from God.
No.
Correct? Because even like I put on my notes, like sometimes God is closest when he feels the quietest.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I gathered from there.
I think the important thing that's missed maybe in all this is that you don't miss what you don't ever have.
Mm-hmm.
You do miss what you had. He's there. David, God is there with me. God is speaking to me. God is doing this. God is showing me this. God's helping me write these psalms here.
Mm-hmm.
God's helping me kill the giants. God's doing all this stuff. And then there's that silence where the enemy's coming, and that's what he's dealing with there. I didn't get a chance to find out the context of of chapter 13, but he's crying out, and it's basically, how long are you going to let this go on? And I think what David shows us is that, there's several imprecatory psalms where he just complains. He just complains, and then it's the end of the chapter. Mm-hmm. But what you see there, Elijah did the same thing. I'm the only one left. Well, whatever you have to tell God, if you want to, he can handle it. God can handle it. Now, you're going to be wrong, probably, but like Elijah was and like David was, where are you at? How come you're not here? How come I can't hear your voice? But David was familiar with his voice to know he wasn't hearing it.
Right.
I mean, you know this, if a person that spent time reading and talking with God as they're doing their Bible studies and reading and delving in there, when you're reading and he ain't talking.
Right.
You know that, right? And so that's the kind of experiences we have. Lord, this is happening, and then if you've been in the family thing here happened, and then this tragedy, and then this addiction, and then all these things start to stack up.
Right.
And you go, what do I do?
It turns into the why me scenario.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like a lot of people when they're doing these pleas, they're expecting more of almost like a verbal confirmation from God saying, well, this is why and everything, but they don't. I think, to me, they're getting too far ahead of themselves. As they're paying attention to the noises. It's like whenever you're in a room, like say for a concert, for example, and I think of this because it's always like in the movies. There's that one funny scene, but like everything is super loud. Someone's trying to have a conversation at the concert, and they're starting to yell, and it's that moment when everything just turns like immediately dead silent. You hear that person clear as day. Yeah. Just saying either something really, really dumb or something hilarious every time in the movie. But I feel like that's the kind of scenario we're playing in our lives where we get consumed by all these loud noises in our life, and we don't take that moment to where it pauses to hear that gentle whisper. Mm-hmm. We're too hyper fixated on everything else instead of shifting our attention towards the subtle things.
Yep.
And I think that's where God gets he's trying to get your attention better. When everything is silent, you can hear me clearly.
Yeah. Yep. And he gets to the quiet parts so that we get there so we can listen. We can be, like you can be so engaged at something at work that when people are starting to talk about, and I've had this happen, I'm trying to build some code, and then people over here are talking, and I'm so engrossed in this that they go, well, what do you think? And I'm like, about what? Because I'm over here thinking, I'm working on this, writing code or doing whatever. And on the other hand, you're trying to do something and you can't think because they're too loud. So you can't get, one, you're not paying attention to them, or you're not paying attention to what you're doing. And so you can disconnect from one or the other.
Right.
So I can listen to something that I have nothing to do with, and I'm good with that, and I can keep working. But if there's something, like when the kids were sitting outside my door at school and I was working, and they're talking some Bible passages or something, well, that's kind of the business I'm in. So I'm listening to what they're saying.
Exactly.
They start talking about algebra or Latin, that it doesn't bother me a bit because I'm not engaged in that. But that's the good part. But the bad part was we can also do that in our church life. We can go, okay, I'll hear all the stuff that we're supposed to do, or you're supposed to get engaged here, do this or do that, and you go, yeah, but that's not me.
Right.
Right.
No, yeah,
that's
exactly.
somebody else, or that's something else. Or either way that you can work that. That's not my gig. That's somebody else's or this. I'm not listening. That's for me. And then that's sometimes one is it's important for us to we recognize when he's silent because we know when he's talking.
Right.
The other, we don't recognize when he's talking because we're not used to listening to him talk. Right?
Exactly. And that's how I kind of built like a little bitty, like step-by-step scenario when for people to really to try to grasp and understand a little bit better the whole when God feels silence. And how I have it broken down is, part A is to shift your attention. Like when we were talking about Elijah earlier, he makes a comment in there that I'm not always the noise. Sometimes I am in the whisper. And so shift your attention, deepen your trust, like you were just mentioning, like have that more of a stronger trust and relationship with God, because then you're going to be able to identify and hear those words being spoken to you. Yep. And the one where I really struggle is like how to prepare yourself before he moves. Like, so many times silence means God is rearranging things behind the scenes, but you think nothing is happening, but truly everything is actually happening, correct?
Yeah, there's always something going on. Sometimes we're busy waiting for him to tell us which way to go, that we're not listening to him tell us how we're supposed to be fixing us somehow.
Right.
That's why a good example back because you had Psalms 13. Another couple great chapters is 32 and 51, where David was dealing with having committed the sin with Bathsheba. He lied about it, and Let's said,
see if my mom enters the chat now.
Everything is good, but then at the end of the chapter it says that God was displeased with what he did. And so for about 2 years, baby was born, and he got married. They got married, baby was born. The baby's, somewhere between a year and a half old. But what you don't see in that period of time where he's talking to God anymore. He's not talking to God. He doesn't want to hear. We don't see him talking to God again until after you get to that chapter 32 and chapter 51 of Psalms when he's confessing. I was sweating in my bed. I was, it's like when your dad goes, wait till you're going to get a whipping when you get home. Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's good. But and he knew it was coming, but he also knew the silence. And I think if we could go back and look when Nathan was giving him the little gotcha scenario and said, David, you're the man. You're the one that did that with Uriah. You're the one that did that with Bathsheba. I almost can bet if we could look at his face, it was relief. Finally. I don't have to hide this anymore. And then all of a sudden, God started talking again.
I can only imagine how could that actually feel like. It's like if you were to disappoint your parents, and not that I've ever experienced that. I mean, I've ticked off my parents pretty darn good, but not to the point where you got the silence treatment. And to imagine like you begging for forgiveness from your parents and they refuse to talk to you and stuff, kind of like the scenario where David refused to talk to God because he knew of his sins and his actions. I can't imagine how living that long of a life of guilt, but not only that, just the true silence that he experienced there. And
I don't know if he stopped doing all of his worship stuff.
Right.
It's the thing of it is that he knew it wasn't the way it used to be.
Right.
It's like two of us will understand this example. The other will practice this example. Is when your wife's mad at you.
I still need practice.
I was confused whenever you said practice. I was like,
you're trying to figure out why it was this doesn't apply to you, because it is about you one of these days. Right?
What's wrong? Nothing.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. Everything's fine.
Fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
It ain't fine.
It's never fine.
No, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell
you.
you.
Are you mad? No. Okay, can I go out? Sure.
I'm just disappointed. You're just be mad. Just be mad.
Right. Just like, come on, just end it, please. Just end me right now. I don't want to.
Again, the thing of it is I've had testimony of people says, you know what, I got to the point where I was so hard of hearing of God. I was doing all my stuff. I was in one case, they were, I was teaching the Sunday school class, I was doing this and I doing that stuff, and all that time I knew I wasn't doing what God wanted me to do, and I wasn't hearing Him. And until I got that and confessed it, and then changed, not just going, Lord, I'm not doing this or not doing that. As soon as they got back to the place where they go, okay, I'm back in business. I'm doing the, I'm not being disobedient anymore in this area, and then things start to pick back up again, and you can see it. As a pastor, if a pastor's in a church for any period of time at all or not, it don't take long for you to know when someone's connected, because they'll talk to you, and when they're not connected to God, they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
And
no, absolutely true. So I actually had a question, and feel free to chime in on here too, because I want to know from your perspective as well. But and I'm thinking now that the more that we've talked and everything, I feel like maybe I've used the wrong terminology in this on the silence portion of it, like using the keyword of silence, because I wanted to know and understand more is like when that silence happens, what is that really truly revealing in ourselves? And how does that change God's presence and perspective of us individually?
There's two sides of this. One, we talked about David, I think. David, he was doing stuff he was doing wrong. Right? The problem with believers today is that they go, well, I didn't commit adultery, so everything should be okay. It's like,
hunky-dory.
Yeah, but
then you'll get the I'm fine.
There's other things that you're not doing or you're supposed to be, or doing that you're not supposed to, one way or the other. But then, so that's the one where you go, I'm used to hearing him, I'm not hearing him. I'm doing the things I used to do with him, and he's not talking to me anymore. And then you have the other side of the coin, which was Job, where that entire period, once he was silent through the whole thing.
I didn't even think about researching Job about that.
He for 38 chapters, 38, 37, 36 chapters, is that right? 36 chapters, silence. They're talking, and his buddies are telling him what God said, never said it. God said, so they were blaspheming, right? Oh, God said this, and this, you need to know this. And he's only, that ain't it. I don't know what it is, but that ain't it. I remember we went to as part of my pastoral training, Laura and I went to a couples retreat, and so because obviously I needed to be fixed. It was just part of my training for.
I'm gonna have to edit. I don't want to I don't want to go to a couples retreat. I'm gonna have to edit this part out.
Yeah, not this one. You probably didn't. But
we're live.
It was part of me learning how to do stuff, and so to learn it, you had to be in it. So we're in it, and so they're getting on to me. They're trying to. Okay, so what is it? What is it that you got? He says, and one of them started going. He goes, you don't treat your wife right. You don't treat your wife right. Well, one of the folks that were there, they didn't know. It was actually the pastor's wife that was in the group of 6 that I was in. Laura was in a different group, and so they go, yeah, you don't treat her the way you're supposed to. And she spoke up and goes, that ain't it. It may be something else, but it ain't that.
It ain't that.
And so that's the kind of thing the people want to. Well, I think that's where Job was at when they were going, oh, you got to have done this, or you had to have done that. And he goes, no, it ain't that. It may be something, but it ain't that, right? But he says I can't remember the passage that he says it in. He goes, I look to my left and to my right, and you're not there. And I look behind me, and you're not there. But then he goes, I hate to use the word feel. I'm not sensing your presence with me. But he said this, but I know the way that I'm to go. So even when I'm not, even when I can't hear you, I still have the instructions to know which way to go.
Right.
And that is educational from Job to go. If you don't know anything else, do what you know you're supposed to do.
Right. So then, yeah, I feel like then that goes back to what I was talking about. I think silence is a little bit of a different aspect. I need to change kind of like the
Sometimes we have to.
terminology
The
on
silence makes us dig deeper.
it. Okay.
You get used to doing everything a certain way. Well, things never should be the same way.
No.
There's always a
not at all.
depth that
Right.
you gain by that, and so you just keep doing the same things over and over again. And after a while, it becomes rote. It doesn't become meaningful anymore. It just becomes a task, right? And then I'm not hearing God, but I got my 4 chapters in, or I marked up this, or I read this book, or I did this thing there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, back up. Let's get me back in this again.
Right.
And when you're in that place, you kind of have a better sense. He's in it. He's not. I've gone on visitation and with folks that I was training, I was mentoring, and we go and they want. I'm talking to somebody and it ain't clicking.
Right.
It ain't clicking. What's that clicking noise? And so, but the one with me, they're wanting to do it. It's like, go ahead, but God's not in. It just ain't working. They want us to leave.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to continue this conversation, and so they try. They start going down a Roman road or start asking a question. Do you want to go to heaven and all this kind of stuff? And they go, yeah, I'm going to heaven. Well, I need to go now. And it kind of, but you get that. Ones you get the sense of like, I need to do this, and then God goes, I told you not to. And then when you really sense it, because they throw you bones, right? They'll throw you bones, and you just keep going with them on those things. But you learn that stuff over time. What can I expect, and when do I know when they are done?
Right. No, I like that, what you brought up and everything, because I feel like that kind of had a similar impact towards me and my cousin, actually, because on Halloween, I took the girls out to go trick-or-treating and stuff with my dad and Christy, and my cousin, he helps us out. He comes and mows our yard and everything, and I pay him for it. And that night, he was always, every year he goes to his grandma's house to give out candy and stuff. And here, since he's been saved, I think I remember the story right. Anyways, I know he was saved, but I can't remember how long he's been trying to do this. The road that she lives on pretty much no longer has like kids and people that come out there and stuff. And he just called me. It's like, hey, I don't know why, but I was curious if you're okay if I can give out candy at your house. I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I don't mind whatsoever.
You're in that area where
here's the thing. There's so many kids.
Yeah.
Like it looked like a block party times 100. But when we got back, he was out of candy and he was talking to people and stuff. I didn't know what he was doing. He said he felt that he needed to be there because he was actually asking every single family that came across, what is your relationship with God?
Good.
What he was grinding that night. I mean, he said that there was like 6 or 7 people that they stayed literally for like 25 minutes with their kids.
Yeah.
All engaged in the conversation, even the children, about, what is your relationship? What church do you go to? He said he spoke to a family that literally flew down here to visit and was from, I think, Florida or something. And he said that was the longest one I talked to, and they told me about the little church that they go to and all this stuff, and that they felt, would it be compelled to even engage in the conversation? So, and he said there was a couple that he felt like he planted the seed for them as well, because after they finished the cul-de-sac that they were in, and he said he thought he didn't get through them. He said later they actually came back. He's like, sorry, I wanted to make sure the kids got some candy first. Now we're done. We got enough. I want to continue.
Let's talk some more.
Now let's talk some more.
That's great, man. That's great.
And when I heard that, I was like, that's awesome. Like, like I know we text here and there and we joke around and stuff, but that was the first time you ever like call and it's like, hey, I really feel like I should be there. Can I give out candy? I'm like, yes. Like nothing. I didn't think of what he was doing or anything. He didn't tell me.
What kind of candy do you have?
Right. That's what I was thinking. It's like, are you giving out some special candy that I need to like circle back towards or something? What is this going on?
That's a great example about, because we talked about this Wednesday night in our Bible study, And it was the punchline to everything we've been talking about, chapter 11, is that there's some people that try to live on Mount Sinai, and you can't because Mount Sinai's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Mount Zion. Well, Mount Zion's not Calvary. Mount Zion is the city that we're looking for, the Revelation 21 city.
Mm-hmm.
And we're called ambassadors, which means we're not citizens of this country, of this mud ball. We have a continuing city somewhere else. And when you flip that switch and you get that, you start living like you belong there,
Right.
instead of like you belong here. And then, well, what's my commission? What's my most important job?
Mm-hmm.
That's telling people about Jesus.
Yep.
And that
Yeah.
nothing.
So when we
That's
talked,
it.
when we talked about that, I was like, "That's awesome." I was like, kind of wish you told me a little bit more and not kept it like a secret. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why you were so vague about just being determined to give out candy. That's why it was like flew over my head. I'm like, okay, yeah, go for it.
Give me the Reese's peanut butter cups.
I told him, I was like, you got Twix in those bags? And he goes, yeah. I was like, okay, I'm charging you 6 Twixes to stay in that.
I think it's Twix Eye.
Twix Eye. I was like, I'll take the Twix, put them on the bed of my truck. If you're already gone,
No.
I'll take care of them
Like
afterwards.
fungus and then fungi.
You know, because he's a fun guy.
Still don't get it.
And that's
well.
why we lost half our viewers.
Yeah,
So
that was so inside that we didn't even get it.
right, yeah.
Yeah, but you see the
Yes.
where you can get so caught up in what you're doing and the routine that you just get it's not working anymore.
Right.
And if you're used to hearing God speak to you when you're doing it and then it just stops, you know it.
Exactly.
If it's just routine, you never know it.
Right.
Right. And
I feel like the older you get, but I say this, the older you get, but the older you get also in the relationship building with God, that you can probably start being able to identify and hear like those whispers. And hopefully those conversations starts clicking more. I know that it takes a lot of work, and I think that's the hard part for a lot of people is when you say the W word for them. Why do I need to put in the work when God can do everything? I feel like that's the first thing that always pops into my head is like, if he can do all this stuff, why am I supposed to put that extra effort into trying to get him talking to me in a library voice?
I don't know who said it, so it's credited to somebody else, but they said God feeds the birds of the air, but he doesn't throw it in the nest. This bird's got to go get it.
Right. It's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink.
Yeah. So
do you understand those two references?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
I feel like we got to engage her somehow.
I know. I'm about to actually throw it right now. So, when it comes to all that, I know with you, you actually you study and you have a good relationship and everything. But has there been a period where you felt like there was silence in through some type of event or challenge that you kind of were like, why, or you couldn't grasp it until you heard that whisper? I don't know why I did this. Whisper.
You've been watching Gavin Newsom?
Right.
Gavin Newsom.
And all of a sudden I feel like Ricky Bobby not knowing what to do with his hands.
Oh. Okay, I do get that reference.
Hey!
There we go.
Anyways, but is there something, or is there someone you've witnessed, or just something along there? I am plugging you.
She never talks to God.
I know.
She's on the phone in Houston. Hello, Houston. We have a problem.
Anyway.
Did you catch that new K-pop song?
Oh, did you see that K-pop girl passed out?
Oh,
It's
wait,
for
is this
real. It's for real.
That happens like every other day. It's
Oh,
not
okay, never
nothing.
mind. I thought it was something. Well, I thought every other day. Golly.
Now she's doing the K-pop giggle.
You clearly haven't known me long enough. Okay.
Do I need to circle back?
You need to re-ask
Ask
your
the question again. I knew it.
The whole silence thing. Actually,
Oh,
I'm
man.
actually going to change it to you. So, if you were to educate and teach somebody when it comes to the silence, what would you feel like would be the first step into how to be engaging that event.
What do you mean?
Like if there, so let's say like you were, let's talk about Elijah, okay?
Oh.
Elijah comes to you, okay? He witnessed all this. He went through the experience and stuff. What would you feel like you would tell Elijah would be the first step to hearing God? Like what would he need to do? Like you were teaching Elijah. Like Elijah's your homie.
So you're asking me what I would tell them to do in like hearing God's voice?
Yeah, if you were like to help
okay.
guide Elijah a little bit, how would you feel like you could support him in this event?
I would say, I don't know, me personally, what I personally do,
Answer the question. I already read the answer.
I feel like the first step that I take, and I would also recommend, is just tell God that like you want to hear him. Just be like, God, I feel distant from you. I feel like we're not
So
close
would you say
anymore.
be honest with him?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
like be honest with God. Be like, hey God, I feel like we're distant. I feel like I can't hear you anymore. I want to hear you. Let God know that you feel it, and let God know that you want to have that close relationship. That's what I do, and that's what I would say.
So you didn't look at my notes though, right?
No.
Okay, so you're good. Okay. What would be the next step?
The next step?
You already
I
told
would
him, here's
say,
step one, be honest with him. Now, how would you grow from there?
I would say get into your word.
Okay, yeah.
I would say
Lean into the scripture. That's
Yeah.
literally what I have next. When God is silent externally, he is loud through his words. Okay. Let's see if you get the. Don't quit looking.
Like I can read it.
So now that you told them, be honest, dig into your words, learn more. What would you think would be something else to follow with that?
I would say try to listen, because if you're not trying to listen, then you're not gonna hear. Like because it's like, okay, so like you can pray, then you can go read your word, then you can go put yourself in a million different things where you're not gonna hear. Like you could go do this or you could go do that. I feel like you need to, after you read, you need to set aside time to hear, because if you're not trying to hear, you're not going to.
Okay, so now that's her answer. This is what I actually had for my next step. And that would be like stay in community. So I pretty much summed it like isolation makes silence louder, but let people around you, like use your tools, use your surrounding, and let people around you remind you of the truth when your emotions are the most confusing.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not much on the community word as much as I am on the family word when it comes to the church, because we're not community. We're connected. We're a body.
We're a body. So I should rephrase that.
No. I'm just being picky maybe about that. But the couple things that I think we miss too is that when the silence occurs, we got to ask, Lord, is there unconfessed sin I need to confess? Tell me. Ask that question. Number one, and that was number three of what the things you had two of them. Number three would be, Lord, reveal to me any sins that I need to confess. That would be number three, and I think goes along with number three is number 3A or 3B is go back to where you stopped listening. Where did I stop hearing him? Because normally where you stop hearing him is a clue to what did I do, right?
I didn't even think about that part whatsoever, because that's like, for example, that's like if you were to lose your keys, what's the first thing you do? You backtrace to the last thing. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly right.
You backtrace to the last thing that you can remember when you physically used those keys. Yep. So yeah, it literally, if you heard whispers and conversations in God's word up to this point, and then you have a 3-year gap where you're like, me and God haven't texted each other in quite a hot minute. What did I do? And then you start thinking, like, where did I mess up? It's kind of like when you're in an argument when they say they're fine with your wife. Like, you don't know how many things go through my head. I'm like,
oh, I know.
And like when she says I'm fine,
46 years, buddy.
I'm
you
like,
ain't caught up with the things that go through your head.
I literally play out from when I wake up. Like, did she get mad at me?
I go back to, when I said I do, what did I do after that?
Like, I go as far as back as like,
Apparently
did she get mad that I woke up wrong? Did I?
She got mad that you woke up.
Right? Like, did
You're
I?
supposed to wake up.
Right? Did I breathe heavy at this one comment? Did I sigh on accident? Like you go through a whole process, and
this goes back to David. What did Nathan do? Nathan took him right back to where he lost it.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
Let's go back to where it happened, and let's deal with this. And that's where David said in 2 Samuel 11 or 2 Samuel 12, he goes, I have sinned against God. And that's when that relationship started to build again at that point. Some bad things happened after that because of the sin that he committed. But if you're going to have bad things happen, you want the bad things to happen in God's presence and grace and not outside of it. Right. So those are the things I need. I think that's 3 and 4 that I would add to what she was suggesting, and that's what we don't do. Too often is where did I mess up at? Well, I've had so many people over the 40 years go, my closest relationship with God was when I was doing, and then after I stopped doing that, things just started getting quiet. It's like, then go back to that. Go back to that thing.
You literally just answered it yourself.
See, that's what happens. We go, God, what's going on? What's going on? He goes, back up to where did I stop? Because, I've had some people like this in my life where Laura's one of them, take off walking, and she's walking with me, and she must have said, we got to turn right up here, and I wasn't listening, and I kept on walking and kept on walking. She just stops, and she'll just stop and look at me, and I'll be walking down. I might still be talking to her. I'm going along there, and then I look over, and she's not there, and I look back, and she's back about 20 yards going, we got to turn here. So I had to turn around and go back to get back on the right path. That's what we do with our relationship with God too. And I tell you what, this may sound so small, but this bugged me so much. April Robbins has a friend that she's trying to help get some clothes for. Well, I went in my closet and grabbed stuff and gave it to him. And then the next time I saw April, I go, hey, I want to give him some more stuff. I had some basketball shoes and some other things, and I had 2 coats. They're the puffy coats. One's black and one's gray. And the black one had a little cut in it, just a little cut. But I liked it, but it had a little cut in it. So I told April, go here, he can wear this one, and she took it. Everything was fine. A couple days later, something ain't right. Something ain't right. And then it wasn't till Friday. It wasn't till Monday that it's Monday. I put that jacket on, and when I put that jacket, the gray jacket on that didn't have a hole in it, he goes, "You should have given him this one." It's like, crap. Why did you give him the one that was tore? Why didn't you keep the one that was tore?
Yeah.
But that's where the quiet came.
Mm-hmm.
And I say quiet, just things aren't the same. Something's bothering, right?
It's in sync no more.
It's like, I don't give, you don't give God your second best. You give him your best,
Right.
I wasn't giving it to that guy. I was giving it to God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him second best, and it just ate me up till I figured out what it was. So now that jacket's going to him. He's going to have 2 jackets.
Right.
I ain't keeping it. I am not keeping that jacket. It doesn't belong to me anymore. So that's the kind of stuff that, where does it, and sometimes we think, well, I must have run over a squirrel or something. God's mad at me. It's like, no, it can be something, just something like that. And he goes, you should know better than that. Or you teach other people that, you need to do that.
Right, exactly.
And you don't even think about it.
So would you say you would agree or disagree with when the silence happens? Do you feel like God is more preparing you, or is he more punishing you during that silence?
It could be either one. It could be either one. I don't think with Job, you can see he was silent with
Right.
Job. But Job knew he was working. That's the thing. A lot of
Yes.
times we think, well, God's not doing nothing. Well, you don't know that. You don't know what he's doing in the meantime. Or it can be like Laura, stopping and waiting for me to come back to where we're supposed to be, and
Mhm.
let's go. He'll be quiet. He'll stop and wait. That's one of the things we have to ask for. And will he be quiet in punishment? Ask Samuel, or not Samuel. Ask Saul when God had said, "You're done. I'm not working with you. You're no more longer the king." And Saul was looking anywhere he could find for a seer or a prophet like Samuel to come and tell him I need God to tell me what to do. God ain't talking to him. And what he ended up doing is going to that witch of Endor. He goes to the witch to try to get her to tell him. He didn't learn anything new by going to her. And God ain't going to talk to him. And man, that is a scary place.
That would be the
Scary place to be. Is that what do I do to get back? Praise God that man is a child of God. Will he be quiet, or will he stop and wait for us to come back? He sure will.
Right.
Will he maintain the what is it, what do you call it, in the military, a blackout? He's not going to talk. Everything's quiet, silence, whatever it is, until you get back to where you're at again. And the great place to be. It is bad if depending on why the silence comes, but the great place to be is when you know there's silence. The sad place to be is when you don't recognize it, right?
Right.
You don't even recognize he's not talking to you anymore. Again, everything's become root. Just doing the same thing over again. Not hearing nothing, never heard nothing. I'm just doing my thing again. But once you get in there and start seeing stuff jump out, and it like reading the Word or something, or you're talking to somebody and you're listening for, we go and talk to the waitresses at the restaurants and stuff, and we joke with them and tease with them. We give them the tracks that we have and talk to them, and we're just waiting. I'm waiting for this, and they'll say stuff like, "Well, I hope I can, I hope I get to heaven one day." It's like, "Oh, you don't have to hope." And it's like, that's it. You raised the Poncho's flag.
Raise the flag.
Raise the flag.
Raise the flag.
Yep. So here we go. But you're listening to that.
Yes.
We go out to eat, but we're listening for that.
Let me pause you real
Go ahead.
quick and backtrack a moment, and let's see if we can remember this part, because someone entered the chat and they asked a question, and she wants to know, are the confessions to God more like how the Catholics do it?
No clue who that may be.
To who are we confessing to?
Only confessing to God.
It would be only confessing to God.
Yeah, you can confess to me, but I can't absolve you of anything.
Right.
Right?
The
You'll
best
just be
thing I could
letting
be like,
everyone
whew, you
Yeah.
did all that.
Wow, I can't wait to get that on.
That's
I'll send that out as a text to everybody at the church.
That's going on
Yeah.
Reddit.
You don't confess to. You confess to. Now, there are times when, and I've had it in my office where people come in and says, "I just got to get this off my chest. I got it," and so they feel better when they've told. They said they tell on themselves. Fine. I said, but you need to pray and ask God about that. But if you think about this, people, if you do that with God out loud and you go, "Hey, listen, I did this, I did that, I gave him the wrong coat, I should have said this, I wasn't faithful here, I robbed you here," whatever it is, as you're talking it out,
That is
it's your release
your
to him.
confession
If you're
towards
truly
him.
confessing it to him, this is it, man. Okay, fine. God, you called this bad. I saw you calling it bad here to this king. What I did was bad.
So would you say, now that you bring that up, now I'm a little bit more curious, is if, like what you were saying, if someone's coming there and they just want everything off their chest, they're venting to you, would you say that at that moment God is using you as a vessel for him to release his sins?
God's.
I don't even think vessel would be the appropriate
I
word.
think what they want is somebody. They want to be able to talk to somebody about it that they know it ain't going to go anywhere. I just got to tell somebody. It's like, well, I'll listen, but you need to tell God about it, right?
Right.
And so normally at the end of those kind of conversations, I'll say, well, then do you want to pray and confess this to God now? Yeah, and then they'll do that.
So that's the added on stuff
Yeah,
that you help them and guide them through.
And sometimes they'll say that you have to do stuff along the way. Well, I didn't want to do it, but they made me do it. No, whoa, no. You're trying to confess,
but now you're pitchforking.
But you're pitchforking it. It's like no one makes you do anything. You did it because you wanted to do it. You compelled yourself to do it. And they go, yeah, you're right. So what they're doing is they're getting. I'm going to say this right. They're getting their story straight, so then they can really pray and go, this is it.
It's kind of like when a kid gets in trouble and stuff, and they're saying, well, my friend is like, no, you still did it, though.
Yeah.
Your friend didn't threaten you or anything like that to say, you're doing this. No, there was something inside of you that said that, yeah, I'm going to do this with them. I just needed that extra push to kind of get me to that point.
Yep.
But so I know we're coming up close towards the end and everything, and I actually have 4 questions, and we'll divide it 2 and 2. And this is something that I hope the viewers also kind of answer themselves and kind of like a reflection towards what we talked about. So who wants evens, who wants odds?
Well, I'm more odd than she is.
All right, so you go first.
Oh, I go.
Okay.
What's that?
So yeah, that's
so
right.
these are pretty.
That means you go last.
I kind of wanted some good, intense style questions. So hopefully this is something that the viewers can reflect and kind of ask themselves as well. So, Broski Ed, have you ever been in a session, or a session where God felt silent, and what did it teach you?
Yes. It's been a long time ago. I was teaching the teens, and I hadn't studied and gotten ready. And when I was like, well, I'll get it if they just ask me questions. I'll remember this stuff. And I got in there, and they asked questions. And I'm like, nothing. I ain't hear nothing. I ain't remember nothing. I didn't study nothing. So I got nothing, and they got nothing. And it's like, I don't like that. And then another time, I've told you guys a story before. I was in witnessing to a guy, a friend of mine, and I kept pushing and pushing. I was determined he was going to get saved that night, and he just shut me off and go, "You tell the jokes I tell, you cuss like I cuss, you drink like I drink, and you're telling me I need this." And so I was in there on my own doing this. This wasn't God telling me that. It may have been God telling me this to get me to that place where I go, I don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want to have a testimony where someone can point and say, you do what I do. You're just as, so I mean that will clear your vision quick when you have something like that happen. You think, there's someone I cared about a lot. Unless somebody else gets to them, they're going to spend eternity in hell. And I have some accountability in that. And man, that just wakes you up. That just sobers you up. They have their own accountability, but I have a responsibility in that. Right. So those type of things really just shake you to. And I've sat down and read and not had, start reading and I'm not getting anywhere and I'm not hearing nothing and I'm not seeing anything. It's like, I got to stop, get away, go back, and I got to sit down and do it again. I'm going to start again. I'm not starting where I left off. I'm going to start again. Well, I got to get those 4 chapters. No, I got to get it. I got to get it first before I move on and do those sorts of things. And like I said, with just this last week with that jacket, it just, that's not that big a deal. It was eating me up, and it's like, what is it? And it wasn't until I put that jacket on I realized, man, that wasn't right. what I did was wrong. And then I'm glad that happened early, before Wednesday, to be able to teach without any of that kind of burden on you. But those are the kind of things that come up. You go to a car dealership and you talk to a car dealer and he goes, everything okay with your car? And you know it's not. And you go, no, everything's fine. No, I can't do that. No, and listen, it does this and it was doing that. And it was knocking here and it was spitting out stuff over there. I can't go in and do that.
It died twice on the way here.
Getting a trade in on a vehicle is not worth, taking that home and knowing, man, you lied.
And someone else is about to hop in.
Someone else is about to get it, and it's those kind of things. But
for sure,
someone talks to you like I said, at the restaurant, and you hear and you hear the waitress say something, and you don't, that's your cue, and you don't do anything. Mm-hmm. And the other one, I've told you this, that a long time ago, I was challenged by the guy Claude Estes over at the funeral home. He told the folks there a long time ago. He says, "If you ever see a vet, you need to thank them for what they've done." And I started doing that. And now, if I walk out of a restaurant and I didn't go tell a guy, and I know when I was back up at Branson, and my family, extended family, was there, and I saw the guy walk back there, and I'm like, I can't leave. So as everybody was getting up, paying the check, and started to walk out, I went back to the back, and hey, thank you for your service, and do that. And it's like, it's not a show for me. It's just knowing that it makes them feel better when you do that.
Yes, 100%.
And so I can't walk out of if I know. The only way I know if they're wearing a hat.
You're right. Or their jacket.
Yeah, if they have a jacket on. But those are the kind of things that really get you.
Right.
And I can't do without it. So
all right.
Number two.
What do you tend to do when you don't hear God? Lean in or pull away?
Lean in, because I can't handle it whenever I feel that I've pulled myself away from God. Like I'll be like, Mom, I feel so distant. I don't feel like I have the same relationship that I had. What do I do? And then Mom will be like, oh well, it's not God, it's you. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Yeah. but I love it. That's safe, but it's always true.
She's in the other room. She's in the other room.
Yeah. That's a safe answer. It's you.
Yeah, that's what my mom had told me. It was like, I think a couple weeks ago. I was talking to her about, I was like, I feel kind of distant from God, and I don't like it, and I don't know why I feel this way. And my mom was like, well, it's not God.
There you go.
So I feel like I'll talk to others, but I don't like it. I don't like it whenever I feel distant from God. Like I'll get distant from God.
How do you know when you feel that distance? Like, what do you personally feel like?
I don't crave it. I don't crave to be in God's Word. I don't crave to change, because whenever I know that, like, okay, I'm doing good in my relationship, I want to be in my Word, I want to change, I want to constantly I want to constantly pray, I want to do this, I want to do that. But whenever I am distant from God, I don't want to do those things. I don't want to look at my Bible. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Just want to do whatever I want to do. So I know, and I feel that emptiness whenever I'm not having my relationship straight with God. I feel that emptiness of, like, God's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, not that he's not there, but, like, I feel that emptiness of, like, my relationship isn't the same.
Right, like you're no longer in sync with him.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Back to the odd.
that neck thing.
All right. What whispers from God have marked your life more than the loud moments?
Say it again.
What whispers from God have marked your life more than the loud moments?
I don't know that there were ever loud moments. They were always in quietness. It was always in I'm standing up at an invitation, watching my teens to make sure that I can catch them if they go up to the front to pray. They need someone to pray with them, and then the still small voice is the preacher was preaching at you. You need to surrender. You need to do this, and it's like, but it's when you're doing something. It's like I said, in the car when he says that, God goes, see what happens. I don't want this to happen again. Why did you get used to hearing that? Why did you give him the tour jacket? Why didn't you give him the good one? Why didn't, it's like, okay, did you hear that? Yes. Okay, go.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for.
It's in the quietness.
That was the answer I was hoping for.
You can't yell at God and expect him. You don't want him to yell back.
No. Don't do a competition who yells the loudest. You will lose so fast.
And the last question goes to you.
Number 4.
You could whiplash.
You could hear my neck crack.
I heard it crack. It's either that or the chair.
It was a good little. All right. So I liked what you were talking about earlier in yours, and I think 4 actually pairs up with this very well. Is those moments and everything. Is there a scripture that you like to always go back to every time you're going through those struggles, that separation, that emptiness? Is there like a go-to verse that always makes you feel like you're reconnecting?
No, I wouldn't say. I say I have a favorite book of the Bible that I'll go back and read because I know that I love reading this book, and I know that I will continually read it. I will read it until I finish it. I just love that book. So I'll read it. So I know that there's something that'll motivate me to be in my word, but there isn't necessarily a specific verse that gives me like that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll just read wherever I know I'm supposed to be reading, whether we're doing like youth group reading or whatever. But there's that's like my favorite book of the Bible. I love Ruth. I just love it. So that's the book of the Bible that I'll read whenever I'm like, okay, I need to get back into my word. This is where I start because I know that this is going to give me the motivation to read. And I also just love story because it just shows that, like, God's always with you. So I really like that. I really like that book. So that's the book that I'll read whenever I know that I need to get back into my word because I know that I will because I just love that book.
Nice. Perfect. I think that's a great way to end those questions. And pretty much I feel like is when God feels silent, don't assume ever that he's gone. Assume that he's working. The whispers is what's going to stay close to you, and you need to be ready and stay faithful to listen to those. So I feel like that's a good way where we can end it here. And like always in Reborn, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this segment actually is one that
Oh, you're reading the comment.
Oh, yeah,
I was like,
I told that's the first time I ever got distracted in squirrel moment. I was like,
I was like, are you okay?
But she makes a very strong point and everything. So one of the comments was, for 20 years, she didn't hear him until she finally got saved. So, and that's a strong, valid point, and I'm glad for her to bring that up because it's true. Like, you could have, let me pull back real fast before we end it. You could have that silence, right? You can start your life off with that silence if you've never had God until you accepted God. Then you start hearing that voice. Or do you feel like before,
in order for you to get saved, you have to hear,
you have to hear
someone. The Holy Spirit's got to be telling you He's talking about you.
Right.
You're the one that's the sinner. You're the one that's going to hell. You're the one that needs Jesus. So it's getting used to that voice after you're saved,
right?
To continue to listen to it,
So that's
why it's
I'm glad to bring that up real quick.
That's why a person needs to get in church with a family, connect to the body. They need to be in the Word of God. They need to be really start connecting and moving along with a ministry or something in the church or through the church somehow, and develop that hearing.
Yeah, for sure.
I have I'll tag out on this side. I can look through the woods with Robert or with Robbie when we go out hunting or something, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, there's a deer over there."
Yeah.
I'm not used to seeing it, right? And so I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, there it is." Now, but I squirrel hunt, and I'll go, "You see that squirrel up in a tree up there?" And they go, "No." It's like, "It's right there. Don't you see it?" It's what you're used to seeing.
Right.
It's what you're used to hearing.
So just to tag on real quick, since you brought that up. So when me and Christy went to Broken Bow and we were hiking, all you hear is crunch, crunch, crunch and stuff like that. And then I stopped and she goes, "Why'd you stop?" I'm like, "There's 3 deers." Like I could hear the separation in the footsteps. She goes, "It's like, you're telling me you can hear that, but when I'm talking to you," I was like, "Oh man."
See?
I have a point. Felipe,
Wives don't
she
get
has a
hysterical,
point.
they get historical.
Yeah, extremely. But and she's like, "If you hear these deers, where are they?" I'm like, they're there. And I zoned in and I could hear because the doe was doing her stomp.
Yeah.
But you can't find anything in the fridge.
Yeah, I got that all brought up real fast. Because she goes, "Oh, cool." And then it's like, but I'm like, yeah, I knew that was coming.
So the last append to that, unless you know,
right?
Okay,
I'll tell you.
In all those Westerns, when people are in the woods, how do they get snuck up on? I don't know how that works. Because it's like I can hear the squirrel just jumped off a tree and is down there, yep, and back up on a tree again. I can hear the same thing what you're doing. It's like, how do they ever sneak up on anybody? They have to be deaf.
Well, if you think about it, they all constantly and everything blew out their eardrums at one point. Must have been easier.
Well.
But anyways, thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you follow all of our social media pages. You see the little icons. That's what we have, one for each of those platforms. Thank you so much. We're at 165 in subscribers.
Wow.
And if some of you viewers out there that came from the Coco Lasso side, actually, let me bring that up real quick. As you can see, Reborn is still here. Reborn will never go away. I just had to make some changes and tweaks where Coco Lasso is the main page, but Reborn is the whole entity of it. So Reborn is always going to be thriving and growing because of you viewers out there, and we're just so blessed and appreciative of that. And if for you from the Coco Lasso side, Beyond the Break, are tuning in, which I know some of you are because y'all have hit me up, and thank y'all so much. Just that growth and the merging of together. I have a challenge that me and Kai are going to soon be recording on that. Once we hit 500, I'll be giving away I'm doing a complete your set challenge on the other half of the channel, and it's from an old set. It's 2016 select, and that's why I kind of brought this up. He's a vintage. This is almost as old as me. This is from 1991, and Brother Ed brought it up here for display because I thought this was the coolest thing ever because a lot of those players just brought back so many memories for me. But this is like the 2016.
Most of them are dead now.
Probably, yes, without a doubt.
I hope that's not true.
But it's the 2016 select, so there's going to be cards in there that I'm looking for, like for Messi and Ronaldo, and these are hard cards to find. And I made a post about it. And what's cool is how fast a community can just immerse. I had like 10 or 15 messages me. He's like, "Hey, I want to donate for the cause. Hey, I want to donate for the cause." And it's been great. And a couple of them actually reached out. I was like, "Hey, are you going live tonight on your other channel?" That to me, I think is even a better feeling.
Yeah, great.
Like I met you through this hobby, and now you see what I do, and now you're getting immersed in this side.
Yep.
And that's how you do your outreach. And you find what you're good at, plug yourself, and always know that if you put God's word, God life into your life, and they see that, they know exactly what you're about and want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So,
Amen.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank y'all for the subscriptions. Thank y'all for subbing, not subscribe, but thank y'all